What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Thursday night football is in the books. The Eagles take down the Commanders 26-18. I want to recap this game and give my thoughts on both teams moving forward. Before we dive into it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell icon so you don't miss when we go live and drop new content if you're new, and let's dive into it. The Eagles continue to roll. They improved to 8-2 on the season, taking down the Commanders 26-18 at home on Thursday night. And for the first 3 quarters and a half watching this game, it felt like the Eagles were sleepwalking because in the first half, they only scored 3 points. But their field goal kicker, Jake Elliott, it just seemed like he forgot how to kick field goals tonight because he missed 2 of them in the first half, which is why they went into halftime trailing 7-3. But in spite of what the score was after the first 2 quarters, you never really questioned if the Eagles were going to lose this game because their offense was better than Washington's. Washington, the only touchdown they scored in the first half was throwing dump-offs to Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler. Philadelphia's secondary completely erased their wide receivers. You didn't hear anything out of Terry McLaurin and anybody else in this passing game, and that shows you how good the Philadelphia Eagles are. They're one of the most complete teams in the NFL, and not enough people are given enough consideration to the Philadelphia Eagles for possibly being able to win the NFC and go to their second Super Bowl under Nick Sirianni because everybody's only paying attention to the Detroit Lions. Nobody really likes mentioning the Eagles in the Super Bowl conversation due to the disdain that many people in the media and fans have for Nick Sirianni. But tonight, though, they did a really good job shutting down what has been one of the better offenses in the league up to this point this season. Washington, offensively, they couldn't get anything going. Jaden Daniels got neutralized. The run game didn't really do that much. And when you can just force a team to just throw checkdowns to the running backs as the only way they can move the ball through the air, you got a really talented defense. And this is not the first time the Eagles defense played well against a pretty good offense. A few weeks ago, they shut down Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. This defense is playing great football at the right time. This has been a top 5 defense over the last month. And in the second half, after the first 2 drives by both teams, when they trade field goals, the Eagles went on to dominate this game. They closed this game out scoring touchdowns on their last 3 possessions. Saquon Barkley broke this game open. He had 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, 145 rushing yards on the game. And what the turning point was is when the Commanders early in the fourth quarter, they went for it on 4th and 2 instead of taking the 3, which would have given them a 13-12 lead. And I felt that was a bad decision by Dan Quinn because in that situation, you know that your defense has been playing some decent football. So you would think that he would go ahead, take the lead. But instead, he gets a little bit aggressive, goes for it on 4th and 2. Jaden Daniels kind of mishandles the snap, and the play is over before it even gets to start. And that's when the momentum started to change because right after that, Saquon Barkley scores a touchdown. Jaden Daniels comes out and then he throws an interception. And then Saquon Barkley follows up that INT with another touchdown run. And the Eagles just ran away with the game. So ultimately tonight, this game played out how it should have. The Eagles have the most complete roster in the NFL. From a talent standpoint, you look at what they have on offense, a great offensive line. Jalen Hurts is a decent QB. You got arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league, and your defense is finally playing up to the level of talent that they have on that side of the football. And the Washington Commanders, as good as what they've been this season, they aren't an insanely talented team. They're a well-coached team. Cliff Kingsbury, he had a few plays that really he had a few plays in this game that I felt were really good, well called. It's just that the Commanders, when you don't really have a lot of talent and you're going up against a team like Philadelphia that just is playing their best football, there's not really anything you can do from a coaching standpoint because you just didn't have the horses tonight, and it showed. And moving forward for Philadelphia, you got the Rams and the Ravens coming up. If you win those two games, people have no choice but to start talking about you more in terms of being able to make it back to the Super Bowl for the second time under Nick Sirianni. And I'm a little bit surprised that when it comes to the Super Bowl conversation, the Eagles don't really get mentioned that much due to the disdain that many people in the media and the fans have for Nick Sirianni. And I get it that this dude can be a little bit out there at times. He talks a little bit too much. He's going back and forth with the fans. But I think it's a little bit unfair to say that this man is not a good coach. He doesn't know anything about football when he pretty much has this team in prime position to once again make a deep playoff run. As long as nobody gets healthy and everybody's playing good football, I don't see how the Eagles don't end up matching up with the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. This is a talented team. The only question is, can the coaching continue to perform at this level? Because this was an insanely well-coached game by Kellen Moore, the OC, and Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator. Now, for the Washington Commanders, you've lost two straight to really good teams. You lost to Pittsburgh last week, and then you lose to your divisional rival, Philadelphia, in disappointing fashion because although the Eagles are a stacked team, you would have at least expected this game to be a little bit more tight. You would have thought that maybe the Eagles only win by a field goal or 4 or 5 points, but they completely dominated this game in the second half. But the good thing is for the Commanders, you only play two teams with a winning record to end this season. Okay, I believe that's the Atlanta Falcons and when you go up against the Eagles for the second time this year. So you're going to have the luxury of being able to have an easier schedule, which gives you a better shot at winning this division. Even if you do lose to the Eagles again, you could still win this division because you're going up against teams like the New Orleans Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. So those are easier games to win compared to the Eagles that their schedule is really about to ramp up over the next month. So if you're a Commanders fan, I wouldn't get too down about this game. I think this game kind of shows more about just how good the Eagles are than it shows about you. And you've already over exceeded expectations this year just based off how you've performed this year. So this is my thoughts on the Eagles taking down the Commanders 28-16. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys shortly with another episode.